Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I am Elizabeth Burner, and I'm the director of the Mentor Career Development Program in Clinical Translational Science, currently a KL2 program. And I'd like to introduce my co-director, Dr. Amy West.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'm Amy West. I'm a professor of pediatrics and psychology at CHLA.
Our goals for our session today are to talk about what the KL2 and the future iterations of it as a K-12 are and what it offers, a little bit about what makes strong applications for the program, and just an opportunity for everyone to ask questions, direct one-on-one, and make sure you have our contact information to have a good understanding of what the program is and how to apply to it. I think most of you are here because you probably found this link through a CTSI email, but what is the SCCTSI? Well, it's an institute that is based at USC and CHLA, and it's one of the hubs that is funded by the National Center of Advancing Translational Science through the NIH that is devoted to increasing the success of translational science. And this means, that we're really led by a team of faculty and staff who have deep experience in developing and supporting clinical and translational research for all populations that surround our institutions. And really, the overall goal is to produce science that is, better, faster, more cost efficient, and help researchers gain those skills in more efficient ways. So we'll talk a little bit about who has participated in the program before and, how this program has supported them, what the eligibility for the KL2 and K-12 program are, what the financial support is that comes along with participating in the program, a little bit about the educational program elements, so what the program provides to help you develop the skill sets you need to be a successful researcher, about mentorship, who makes a good mentor and what we offer to support mentors in developing those skills. And then a few logistics, important dates and things like that, that would be good to have on your calendar as you're considering applying. So what is this program overall? Well, it is a 3-year program that is created to support research career development for health professionals or for individuals with research doctoral degrees who wish to pursue formal training and a career in clinical or translational research. And I think this is important. This is for faculty at our institutions that are part of our SCCTSI. There are a lot of people who participated. So way back in our first cohort, brought on 5 people, and every year we have onboarded 4 to 5 people who have participated in the 3-year program. And that's me right there. I'm an alumni of this program from way back when, and really have created a network of translational and clinical scientists who are committed to rigorous research that's reproducible. And we are really excited that we just onboarded our latest cohort, cohort 17. And this is a network of people that, have trained together or trained through similar ways and build collaborations just through, having similarly aligned interests and interest in having clinical and translational research that has real impact. So to date, we have 74 active scholars and alumni of the program who really create this network of clinical and translational researchers, many of whom then go on and recommend that their mentees apply to the program because they really do think it was a launch point for their career. The people who participate in this program are really a successful bunch. So we have people that are supported directly on the NIH support under the KL2 award, and an additional group of people that are supported by other institutional funds and go through the same programmatic elements. Of those people that have participated, it says 70 because those last 4 people that joined 2 weeks ago, we don't count them quite in our totals yet. But of those people, 98% are active in clinical and translational research, 15 years after they started this program. And it's one of those programs that really launches you towards developing your own funded research and financial stability in your research career, with tens of millions of dollars in extramural funding that has come to support these scholars, as they've proceeded to build out their successful research careers. Some of you might be here because someone told you to come and you're like, what is this clinical translational research that we're talking about? And really the idea about clinical and translational research is that we have a target for improving health through the research we do. There is basic research that is important, right? Discovery research that isn't necessarily targeted for a particular clinical condition or treatment, which is profoundly important to new treatments, new developments of diagnostic procedures. And many CTSA hubs do emphasize that. While we support that for our scholars, that's not our area of excellence, right? Our area of excellence as a clinical translational science hub, the SCCTSI, is really in that jump from preclinical to clinical research, and then in clinical research through clinical implementation and public health, that what we call late stage translation, right? So we do support basic discovery, but what we really excel at is training people to get those basic discoveries to the bedside and then out into general practice and to improve public health on a population level. And so when you hear about the clinical translational paradigm, it's recognizing that all of these steps are interrelated. And sometimes things we find in clinical implementation research actually takes us back to preclinical research. And we're like, wait, why did this not turn out the way we thought it did? There might be more mechanistic understanding that we need before we can move forward again towards studies, in like the whole human organism. And that's part of what's represented. We did not develop this diagram. This is the diagram that our whole national consortium works together on, but really understanding how the different stages of research are interconnected, making sure that we have community engagement and patient involvement at the center of everything we do. And then to make sure that we have the most effective ways to really develop new scientific approaches or to demonstrate the usefulness of new interventions, and disseminate the findings in ways that have impact outside of just scientific communities. And so we use this paradigm to really frame all of the educational efforts and research training that we do. There's really three types, we call them phenotypes, three phenotypes of early stage researchers who this program is well developed for. And you need to be an early stage researcher at USC or CHLA. And you really need to be willing to invest your time and effort into developing a career in clinical and translational research. Traditionally, the program has been thought of for clinicians who have strong clinical training but are transitioning to a research career. And they might have very little formal research training prior to entering the program. But there are other people that benefit from the program as well, such as early clinician scientists who might have extensive research training or already have a research doctoral degree. But they really need some mentorship and support to develop their independence and to demonstrate preliminary data to apply for their own independent awards. And we also support our basic scientists who usually have more of a research PhD alone, who are transitioning to clinical research. So they might be very strong in wet lab or basic science, but moving towards studies in people, right, which have different barriers and different considerations, and we really support people in those early years of transitioning to that clinical work. And so we really want to emphasize that, while the program 15 years ago was really developed for clinicians transitioning to a research career, there are other faculty members who benefit from this type of training and that cohort effect of working with people with different clinical and research backgrounds than you. To be eligible, you do need to have your doctoral degree already, either a clinical doctoral degree or a research PhD. You should be junior faculty or anticipating promotion to faculty status by the program start date. And for the year that we're recruiting for right now, that anticipated start date is April 1st, 2027. Because this is an NIH Hub Award, you do need to meet NIH eligibility, which includes US citizenship or non-citizen national or permanent residency. And I think this is a really important part too. You need to have 75% effort available for your mentored research and career development activities for those 3 years. Right? And so that's really going to be shown by your commitment from your department and your department or division chair, as well as your mentoring team, right, which typically consists of 2 to 3 senior faculty members who, through supporting your application and their mentorship records really show their commitment to you, their willingness to really nurture your career and to help advocate for you to get the effort that has been promised to you. For those accepted into the program, those 3 years are split between the SCCTSI and then a year of support from your department. So for 2 years, the SCCTSI will provide salary support for up to provide salary support of up to $120,000 plus fringe benefits for that 75% committed effort that you have towards your mentored research or your career development activities. And your department would be responsible for any cost share that was involved. And with that, if your salary exceeds that, and also the remaining 25% effort, is up to your department's discretion, whether you are teaching or clinical or administrative or whatever that profile is for you. Additionally, there's $20,000 a year in research and mentored career development activity support, which will work with you to submit a budget and get that approved to make sure it's in alignment with institutional NIH guidelines. Your department also supports a year. So that is part of your commitment from your department, is that they additionally will support you for a year on 75% effort for research and career development activities, and will provide you with those research or career development funds for the year that you are on your department's support. The reason we structure it this way is that we're really trying to build your institutional support, right? We want this to not just be a contingent that you were able to commit to research because you received this grant, but that your department's really showing their commitment to growing you as, a core of their research infrastructure and faculty. For this upcoming year, we ask that you submit a letter of intent by August 7th. With your application due on the last Friday of August, which is August 28th this year. That letter of intent is generally not a screening letter of intent, but it is helpful for us to make sure that we have the right reviewers for your application with the content and research expertise to really comment on it fully. And our anticipated program start date is April 1st, 2027. And that exact start date is contingent on the renewal of our award with the NIH and the exact start date that we get from them. We anticipate April 1st, but as a few of you might be aware, the NIH has been on a bit of its own timeline in the past year. And so that might be pushed back a few months depending on, some of the administrative stuff that comes through from the federal government. Questions at that point before we talk about what we talked about the financial support and who's eligible, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what the program offers to you. And feel free to put in chats if you want to, and we'll also have contact information to reach out to us later. So there are some core activities that are really how we support you in building the research skills you need to be independent. One is that there is a core course series, it's a year long, called Clinical Translational Research that's offered through Population Public Health Sciences. And all first year scholars in this program take this course together, along with some other early career investigators who are also choosing to build their research skills. I co-instruct in the course, and it's led by faculty at PPHS. It's really focused on building your skills in rigorous and reproducible research, focused on your projects, right? This is not a class where you, are working theoretically on, not real studies, but, really your work, your research projects, developing your manuscripts, your data analysis plans, and preparing either your manuscripts or your next grant proposals. So it's a high-level course that is project-focused on your own work, but really covers all of those concepts of rigorous and reproducible research, which are so important to building a strong research career. We also participate in the KL2 K-12 National Speaker Series, which is a national consortium of KL2 and K-12 programs with other CTSAs across the country. And we meet monthly for over Zoom. You don't have to fly all over the country, but we meet once a month on Zoom to cover topics that are important to developing your scientific independence. So last month we had a session on imposter syndrome, which, sometimes can mean a lot of different things to people. It was actually a very actionable seminar on how to identify imposter syndrome in yourself, and how to build strategies to overcome that, which was really powerful for the attendees at that. We've hosted some sessions as well on dealing with conflict and management strategies for that. Also on how to manage budgets, how to work with students, just about all of those things that aren't necessarily the science, right, but are so important to your success and independence as you grow your career. We also occasionally have some KL2 specific educational offerings that arise that are not on a scheduled basis, but when we have a high priority topic that is important to make sure that everyone has that information. 3 times a year, we hold writing accountability challenges for our scholars and alumni, where we all commit to meeting our writing goals for that 2 weeks time frame, and really helps jumpstart people's productivity. We have mentee and mentor training that is required as part of the program. And as mentee scholar participants, you would start with early sessions on how to be a good mentee, and then move towards learning the mentor skills yourself. So as you move towards independence and having your own mentees, you gain the skills to do that effectively. We have near and peer mentoring sessions most months, where people get together who are active in the program, with alumni who have recently graduated, and really move through some of those interpersonal and team and leadership challenges that can keep you from advancing in your career. And in the K-12 iteration that will start next April, we are offering executive leadership coaching to people as they are in their second and third years of the program to really help build those independent leadership skills. And that is, other than a group intro session, that coaching session is one-on-one with you and an executive coach. We're highly focused on developing your scientific communication. And so we have baseline presentation and works in progress every 6 months for you to show us your research progress, your progress on your educational goals, to work on your scientific communication in a supportive environment, and to receive feedback from the mentors of other participants in the program. So you really get 12 senior scientists giving you feedback on your research direction, your educational attainment, and sometimes it's a great opportunity to get really experienced feedback on overcoming barriers. There's a lot of elements. So quality by design, which is SCCTSI offering to work through your research projects before you start them, and to identify areas where you might have potential weaknesses, and getting advice from experts across the CTSI on how to think about patient recruitment, right? Or how to maintain rigor in your data collection, how to support data analysis plans that align with your hypotheses, or how to engage with community members to have more meaningful work at the end. These are all different we call them vulnerabilities that might be identified in your research proposal, and the Quality by Design Studio offers an opportunity to address these before the research project starts. You would ideally find these out before you start your projects, find solutions for them, and not have them come up at the end of a research project is something that can't be avoided at that point. And so that's part of the onboarding to the program, is your mentored research project goes through the Quality by Design process to get that support and get to true excellence. We also have a program called the Community Engagement Studios, which is in partnership with SCCTSI Community Engagement, where a panel of community members will support you in a specific aspect of your study design or dissemination challenges to support providing community input in a more manageable way. It's sometimes hard for our early stage scientists to also develop a community advisory board to give them input on their projects. So our community engagement core has supported these community engagement studios to help you get that input without the administrative burden of setting it up. As our scholars transition between their first and second year, we attend the National Translational Science Conference, which alternates between Washington, D.C. and a few other sites across the country, where you get together with K scholars at other CTSAs talk about research challenges, present your work, and really have high quality didactics that are focused on your research methodology and supporting your next stages in your career. Everybody will also pick their own individualized coursework or educational offerings. And we have individualized grant writing support for either your individual K award, if that is your next step, or support for preparing independent R awards, if that's your next step. There are also the SCCTSI seminar series, which we, as a program, go through and screen for what are the most relevant seminars for our KL2 and K-12 scholars and disseminate those to you. And we engage with the research success teams the same way, making sure that we don't send you things that are redundant to training you already have, but that we highlight those programs that we think can build on your skills. That was a lot of core activity. So there's a lot that's packed into those 3 years. The reason we do all of this is because we really want to support our scholars developing into translational scientists. So this is, I'm happy to send people a citation later, but these are the core characteristics of translational scientists. And each of these things that we talk about really play into different competencies that translational scientists need to be successful. As part of the program, we also advocate for a multimodal mosaic mentoring model. So in addition to your traditional primary mentor and co-mentor team, or co-mentors at times, who really support your mentored research project and your initial career development plans, we have other guides and supports that really help you grow into an independent scientist. We talked briefly about the growth near peer support system. We also will be matching scholars with a translational science advisor. So many of us apply to this program with a real focus on a clinical research project, but the translational part is where it gets a little fuzzy for us. We're like, what does that mean? The science of science, the science of studying how to make science faster. So we'll pair you with a translational science advisor who's experienced in thinking through translational science research questions and aims, and they'll work with you and your planned mentored career or your planned mentored research project to help add a translational science research question that you could also answer at the same time. So for example, I'm an emergency physician and most of my work is out of the emergency department. And so I could have, a text messaging intervention for behavior change. A translational science aim or research question that could be added to that might be, is it better to enroll people into the text messaging program while they're in the emergency department at that visit? Or is it more effective to reach out to them a week later when that crisis has passed, right? And they're more able to think about behavior change, right? And so really understanding which pathway is better to improve enrollment in the trial would be a translational science research question that aligned with the original research question of, does this text messaging intervention change behavior? And then also the leadership coaching that we spoke about is going to be these one-on-one confidential sessions for you to really, work on developing your leadership skills, your organization skills, and your executive functioning. But that traditional mentor that you have is really somebody that you bring to the program. And throughout the application process, that mentor should be supporting you and part of the process of writing your application. So we really expect your mentor to advise on research design and career development goals, right? Those should be something that you've discussed with your mentor before you submit your application. They should collaborate by reviewing all the components of the grant with you, right? It's very clear when we read the applications who's had time to sit down with their mentor and who hasn't. They will provide you a letter of support, which ideally matches the career development goals and frequency of meeting that you've written in your portion of the application. And they often facilitate a letter of departmental support. We highly encourage one of your mentors to be somebody who is in your department or division and can support you in negotiating for the time protection or research access that you need to be successful. If you advance past our first stage of written application to the interview, they would participate in the interview process with you. And a key component of a successful mentor is to help you anticipate your administrative and financial support needs, right? If your division or department has an identified person who supports in writing budgets and financial administration, they help facilitate that connection and make sure that you're getting the support you need to be able to spend your research funds. During the training program, it's important that your mentor is aware of how things are going for you. And if you're not getting sufficient protected time, as was agreed to, which is very rare that it happens, but it can occasionally come up, that they're advocating for you and that they're escalating it to us as K program leadership to make sure that you're getting the support you need. They should be meeting with you regularly, either individually or with the entire mentor team. They should be evaluating your progress on your individual development plan, right? Those educational activities that you have planned. And then they work with us as the leadership to make sure that we're developing the mentoring strategies that help the program grow and be successful. They'll attend your works in progress session twice a year. And then we also have mentor training workshops that we expect them to complete during the program as well. So how does this all fit together? Well, it sounds like a lot, but it is planned out. We have plans of how you get these things done, and they're not all at the same time. You know, we do know that you'll have some foundational work that you do in year one that moves into more individualized work as you get into years 2 and 3. Your individual development plan will be drafted as you start the program, but it's going to revise, right? You're going to have new opportunities come up or new directions that you take, and we want that to happen. And so while it sounds like a lot of activities, you know, it's planned out in a stepwise fashion of increasing independence as you move through the program to really help you prepare for your own individual K or R award, which is what most scholars move to after this program. There's some important dates for you to keep track of as you think about applying to the program. Applications will open on June 1st with that letter of intent due on August 7th. And the final application will be due on August 28th this year. We review those applications throughout September and October, which is both an internal review with the program leadership, other SCCTSI leaders participate in the reviewing of the applications as well. And then we seek external reviewers from outside our institution to provide reviews of the scientific rigor in the specific content area. We will notify you if you've been selected for interviews in the mid to late October, and those interviews will be scheduled for November based on the applicant and mentor availability. Those interviews are on Zoom, so you don't need to be in Los Angeles for that time, but you do need to be available at the same time as your mentor to complete an interview. And we will notify the incoming cohort in early December that they've been selected for next year. Typically, we hold an orientation session within a few weeks after that, before the break, to make sure that you, your mentor, your chair, and whoever the financial administrator for your department is are aware of the contingencies on the award and what the expectations are, with an anticipated program start date of April 1st, 2027. Again, contingent on the NIH functioning in a time-efficient way this year. If it moves back from April 1st towards later in the year, that year one start date would then move. So year two would start on the same date. So say it got moved to May 1st, it would be May 1st would be the time that you changed from year one to year two. You don't lose time on it. So just wanted to be clear about that. So we would love to answer any questions that you have, either right now on the Zoom session, or if you want to email us. Our email address is kl2@sc-ctsi.org, or you can always reach Jeannie, who's here. Hi, Jeannie. Sorry, I didn't introduce you when we first started. Jeannie's our program manager and really is the expert in all the logistics of the programs, and has been the program manager for, gosh, 16 years, 17 years now. Just about. So even that first cohort might not have started right with her, but she got involved pretty quickly thereafter. So if there's anything you want to know about the history of the program, she's definitely the expert on it. Any questions from anybody who's on right now?